Hi again. All right, so now we're going to focus in on writing the equation of an exponential function given 2 points. So this is only for exponential functions. I meant to do highlighter. This is only for exponential functions. And this is writing the equation of the function. Okay, so we're writing an equation in the form of y equals a times b to the x power. And we're being given clues of 2 coordinates, 2 ordered pairs that pass through that curve. Okay, and we're going to do this using substitution. We're basically going to create 2 equations, both of them with 2 unknowns. A and B are going to be your unknowns because we're being given x, y, and another x, y. So I'm going to write 2 equations, one for each of the coordinates. So if I'm plugging into the place of y for the first coordinate, 12 equals a times b to the first power. And then for the second equation, using the second point, 108, that's my y value, equals a times b to the third power. So there's my system of equations. It involves exponents. What you're going to do is you're going to solve for a and substitute. It doesn't matter which equation. So I'm going to solve for a in the first one because this one's easier. I'm going to divide by b. I have a equals 12 over b. And then I'm just going to use substitution. I'm going to plug that in the place of a in the second equation. So I have 108 equals 12 over b times b cubed. And now I'm going to manipulate using my understanding of exponents. So like this is b cubed over 1, so this b can cross cancel with one of those b's, and I have b squared. So I have 108 equals 12b squared. My goal is to isolate b, so I'm going to divide by 12. I have b squared equals 108 divided by 12. And now, whatever this exponent is over here, right, if it's b to the second, I'm going to take the square root to isolate b. So I have b equals, and I'm going to put in my calculator the square root of 108 divided by 12. When you put it in your calculator, make sure you're using parentheses. You should have 3 for your answer. So you should be putting in the square root of, and then it's 108 divided by 12, like that. So once you have your b value, you can now go back into either of your equations to solve for a. So I'm going to go back into my first equation. I'm going to say 12 equals a times, and I know b is 3 now to the first, which is just 3. So I'm just going to divide by 3. A is 4. And now I can write the equation using the values of a and b. So my final answer is y equals 4 times 3 to the x power. Okay. Now they're going to get, sometimes they can get a little more complicated if when you're solving this exponent here that we were isolating the b for, if it's not a 2. So if it's not b squared, let's say it's b to the third, then we're not going to be taking the square root. Instead, we're going to be taking the cubed root. Okay? Or if it's b to the fourth, we're going to be taking the fourth root, etc., etc. Okay, so here's another example. Write an exponential function. We're being given 2 points. Now, if I'm given a decimal, because I'm working with exponents and stuff, I'm going to change this decimal to 1/2, to fractions, because then I can take reciprocals and such. So, again, I'm going to write 2 equations in terms of using these x and y values. So for the first equation, I'm going to write, remember the formula is y equals a times b to the x. So my y value is 1/2 equals a and b are my unknowns, and then the x power is the third power. And for my second equation, I'm substituting 64 for the place of y. A and b are my unknowns to the negative 4th power. That's my x value. There's my system of equations. I'm going to isolate a in this equation, so I'm going to divide by b cubed, divide by b cubed. A equals, now we have to get used to simplifying these things. 1/2 divided by b cubed is really 1/2 times the reciprocal of b cubed, which is 1 over b cubed, right? When you divide, you're multiplying by the reciprocal. So a is just 1 over 2b cubed. I'm going to take this, I'm going to sub it in the place of a in the second equation. So 64 equals 1 over 2b cubed times b to the negative 4th. Again, using all your understanding of exponents. Again, and also there's different ways of doing it. So I'm just doing it one way. B to the negative 4th is really 1 over b to the 4th. And then I'm doing that so that I can multiply these. So I have 64 equals, so 1 times 1, the numerators, and then the denominators are going to be 2b to the 7th. Remember, your goal is to isolate b. So we're trying to get this b by itself. Right now it's in the denominator. So I'm going to clear out this fraction. I'm going to multiply by 2b to the 7th, and then I'm going to multiply on the other side by 2b to the 7th. So I now have 1 on the right side, and then 64 times 2 is 128. So I have 128b to the 7th. I still haven't isolated b, but I did get it out of the denominator. That was why I did that first step. Now I'm going to isolate b. So I'm going to divide by 128. I now have b to the 7th equals 1 over 128. Notice I'm keeping the fraction. I'm not dividing on the calculator. Now at the very end, this is what I was referring to earlier, where if I want to isolate b and it's being raised to the 7th power, what root am I going to take to isolate b? I'm going to take the 7th root. Okay, and I know that seems a little odd. So what happens is these cross out and you have b equals, and now the 7, you can do it all on your calculator, it's fine. There's a key somewhere on your calculator depending on which one you're using. If you're using the graphing calculator, you're going to go to the math button. And once you press math, choice 5 on the graphing calculator is a square root with an x over it. So it's basically saying like any root that you want to take, and then you could put in here, once you hit that key, you could put a 7. Okay. If you're using a scientific calculator, then somewhere on your scientific calculator you will have a key that looks like this, and there might be a different variable. It might be square root with a y over it. So you can do the 7th root of that fraction, or you can sort of take a little bit of a shortcut. I know the 7th root of 1 is 1, right? Because 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 doesn't matter how many times is 1. And then in the denominator, I can take the 7th root of 128. So the 7th root of 128 is, so you can type in on your calculator, I think it's 2, yeah, is 2. So 2 to the 7th power is 128, so b value is 1/2. Now I'm not done, all I did was find b. Remember, I need to find a, so I'm going to go back into one of my equations. I'll do this in green over here. I'm going to solve for a now. So I'm going to go into the first equation. I have 1/2 equals, I'm solving for a, times, and I know b is 1/2 to the 3rd power. So I have to isolate a. 1/2 to the 3rd is 1/8. So I have 1/2 equals 1/8 a. Okay, you could just multiply both sides by 8. That'll get rid of this. And 8 times 1/2 is 4. So my a value is 4, my b value is 1/2, and now I can write the equation in terms of x and y. So y equals 4 times 1/2 to the x power. Okay, if you take slightly different steps along the way, that's fine, as long as you're arriving at that same answer. I'm okay with it. All right, so you have some work to do. Use your notes to help you, and we will go over it tomorrow. Thanks.